Good day, everyone. Today we will be talking about the eighth lesson of the second chapter, or the eighth lesson of the book. It's on material self or the economic self. So, to begin, let me ask the question: what possessions do you have, or what are the things that you own? What are the things that you have, or things that you may call as mine? Or unsa ang mga butang makaingon ka nga imo adjud? So, some of you might say that you have your own phone, you have your own shirt, your clothes, your shoes, your homes, your glasses, your watch, or your laptop, or your computers, or the things that you're currently wearing. So, moving forward, apart from the things that you already have, what would you desire to own, or what would you want to have? What are you hoping to get? So this chapter, it tries to delve in on taking care of one's financial health, and not just about piling up wealth. It is about growing a healthy, deliberate bond with money and possessions. So according to Robert Killenin, as the saying goes, it says, they purchase items they don't need with funds they don't have to impress folks they aren't fond of. So, who would you like to impress, or who are you trying to impress? I think a lot of us would do this from time to time. At times, we buy things not because we need the item or not because we like the item, but because we want to impress someone, because you want others to see that we can afford the things that we can afford. So, Robert Killinan wants to emphasize in his saying, it somehow shows the thoughtlessness spending to dazzle others mirrors a common downfall in today's consumerism. So, this means that sometimes people spend money on things that aren't important or necessary for them. We spend money that um, allows us to buy things even though it's not necessary. And sometimes we even borrow money. So um, we even borrow money, we even use our credit, we even apply for a loan just to purchase things because we want to look good. We want to buy things we don't even need because we want people to recognize us. We want to do this because we want to impress other people, or even if it's not really about people whom we care about. Essentially, it's about trying to gain approval, trying to gain admiration from people who sometimes don't even matter to us. Sometimes we're trying to impress people whom we don't even like. You know? So it somehow shows that essentially we do things that are unnecessary, such as unnecessary spending, unnecessary financial trouble, just to impress other people. So, this concept can be categorized into two primary types. So, there's what we call a bodily self and extracorporeal self. So, first is the bodily self. Karl Marx contends that the economic class to which one belongs and the type of work one does have a major role in shaping one's identity and sense of self. So it says here that how people see themselves and how they are seen by others is influenced not just by their economic roles, but also by the economic inequalities they experience. So Karl Marx said that capitalism is an economic system where most things used to make money, like factories, machines, are owned by a small group of people called capitalists. These capitalists hire workers to make products and pay them wages. Again, in simple terms, in capitalism, it somehow explains how the rich owns factories, pays workers, pays people. So he wants to compare that in reality, people who do much work aren't paid as much. So Marx believed this system creates a problem because workers or laborers in this context do most of the work but don't get paid as much as the value they are trying to create. So the capitalists keep the money or the extra money or the profit for themselves. And in a society with a wide gap between the rich and the poor, those who are economically disadvantaged may feel less powerful, less valuable, which can affect their sense of self worth and identity. So, John Harold Galthorpe builds upon the ideas of Marx by demonstrating that a person's social standing, often linked to his or her occupation, can impact the type of material goods he or she opts to possess. So, in the current society, a person with a well paying job and elevated social standing might opt to purchase a luxury vehicle or reside in a high end neighborhood to mirror his or her status. So, conversely, a person with a job that pays less and has a lower social standing might choose more humble possessions, such as. So, again, sometimes people choose to buy brand name items, even if a similar one without a brand costs less. This is because it's not just about saving money. In reality, some of these people want to have these things because it matches how they see themselves or how they want others to see them. It's about fitting in or showing their status to other people. And then second type of self in the material context is called extracorporeal self, as put forth by Skybe, Neisser, and Sartre. It's a notion that goes beyond the physical body to encompass external elements such as belongings, places, and relationships. This thought is grounded in materialism, which proposes that material belongings can become a key part of one's self concept. So it also highlights Megan's mere ownership effect. So, for example, a person's automobile or a person's car, dwelling, or even their social ties can become part of their self concept. These belongings and relationships are not merely external additions, but these things that we possess, these things that we have, are viewed as extensions of ourselves. The material things that we have mirrors and influences our identity and our self esteem. So it means that just owning something can make a person more confident. Just owning can make a person feel better about themselves because they see it as a sign of their success or social position. So that's Begensmere ownership effect. Because I own this thing, it somehow boosts my confidence because it shows people that I am successful because I can afford something. Notice how sometimes when we encounter people, though it's not intentional, a lot of times we'll tend to judge others by the way they dress or the things that they possess. Somehow we think that someone is rich just because his or her things are branded, or just because we know that that person owns a car. So that ownership shows other people your success or your social position. So there are components of the material or economic self, first of which is the self concept. As we have already discussed before when we are talking about Self concept it is the way in which people see themselves greatly, which affects their choices in material goods. For example, your passion for makeup would make you purchase expensive cosmetics to improve your looks. Or second, another component of material or economic self is your body image. Looking back to the physical self, when we're looking at body image, it's the way you see or you judge or you perceive your own physical looks, physical self, physical appearance, fitness. Um, it also has a strong effect on your buying decisions. So, like for example, if a person is very aware of his or her body type, that person may spend a lot on gym or healthy food or supplements. And then third is self-esteem. A person's self-worth has a clear effect on how he or she shows certain possessions. People with high self-esteem often display their possessions, which they own. And then role performance, the roles that people take on their lives have a key role in deciding their material preferences. So, for example, a scholar might spend on books or education materials. So, main variables in material and economic self. First is needs versus wants. I think a lot of us are struggling with this. A lot of us would want our wants, basically, even on food. But even on food, at times we should be satisfied with things that would satisfy our physical body, such as kung busog na ka, mundang nakagkaon. But in reality, a lot of us would crave for things that our body may not need. So when people shop, they often have to choose between things they really need to live and things they just want because they like that. Needs are important for survival, while wants are about what feels nice, what is fun, what do we want, what do we desire, what would make us happy. And then experiential versus material. So some buying or some purchases is about getting the stuff immediately or wanting it quickly, while other people would want experiences. So, for example, some of us would save up for travels or for vacations because we value experiences. We spend money because we value experiences. We value the feeling of being happy. We value the feeling of spending time with other people. And in spending time, in reality, you would also have to spend money. You spend money in buying food, you spend money in paying for tickets, in paying for gas, or in paying for transportation. So that's experiential. You save up and you save money and you spend money for certain experiences that you value. And then high materialists versus low materialists. Some people buy a lot of things and enjoy spending, which helps keep businesses going, while others would prefer simple living. Others would prefer to have fewer things. Others would prefer simple, humble things. And then we also have here the differentiation of consumption and production. So first is consumption. Consumption pertains to the use of goods and services by people or organizations to meet their needs